What's up, it's Nez, and hello everyone, welcome back to the letter. Last episode we finished up Marianne's chapter and she seems to be trapped underneath the mansion, in the sex dungeon, trapped by the creepy ghosty. Here we're now playing Rebecca's chapter. This is how it begins, or so they say. With a gentle wind drifting through the wide open windows, muffled laughters and footsteps fading behind empty hallways, and the light kiss of the afternoon sun. Soon there will be a call, a crossing of thresholds into the unknown. Maybe we are off to some grand adventure or diving into another gripping mystery. One can't really tell. For all I know, a hero might even come sweep me off my feet if I'm lucky.
That's not exactly a bad thing when you think about it.
As long as it's not Ash. But this is far from one, isn't it? A riveting tale, that is. The mild breeze, the faint murmurs, the warm rays painting every nook and cranny a fiery hue. They're all as real as they can get. As much as I want to write a little tale out of this, I'm far from someone who can. Fleeting fancies, that's what all these are, merely passing thoughts to occupy an idle mind, while waiting for another busy workday to end. Then again, maybe in another life I am one, but who knows? But at present, what I have and what I've chosen to be, well...
I won't last years here if I find teaching rowdy adolescents a tedious job, will I?
Admittedly, the whole affair isn't exactly as grand or exciting as I imagined it as a child. If I weren't so stubborn and too passionate about the whole idea, I probably would have quit a long time ago. But it's always the kids that make it worthwhile, isn't it? As if in agreement, as soon as my pen slides into a neat circle against the papers I'm grading, the final bell rings. Like a dam that has opened, students start piling out into the hallway soon after. For a short minute, I let the noise fill my ears, let my mind wander to a place far removed from all the hubbub. Solitary moments like these have come far and few between lately. Even my own home hasn't been as quiet as I usually prefer. Though in hindsight, the entire place hasn't been the same either, since Isabella moved in next door. And if fussing over a minor cold last week tells anything, I might as well throw any idea of solitude out the nearest balcony, as long as she lives nearby. At the memory, my eyes automatically shift over the bottle sitting at the edge of my desk. A chuckle escapes from me as I reach for it.
A little ball of energy and enthusiasm. That big baby.
Mother Hen, she calls me, and then says and does the same thing right after. It's not that I'm unused to being on the receiving end of other people's worries, or I feel any sort of apprehension over her fretting. If I'm to be completely honest, it's actually amusing how someone can be childlike one minute, then act like a responsible adult the next. But there's a dissonance here, both in her words and actions. Although she may not look like it, may not say anything, may not lose her cheer, one way or another, I know these troubles have weighed down on her lately. Her face says it all. That big numpty. If she thinks I won't notice, she's got another thing coming for her. That's how she's always been. I do understand that part loud and clear, it's just that I really rather not pass another burden on to her.
Or become one myself.
Aren't I supposed to be the one taking care of them? Though I guess that's simply one of those things people eventually grow away from, once you've all started leading different lives. Not completely different, I hope. Somehow that thought makes me feel uneasy. Thankfully, before stranger ideas can take root in my mind, a faint buzzing comes from my bag, cutting through the rest of my thoughts. A small frown forms in my lips when the screen lights up and an unknown number flashes. For a long second, my thumb hovers over the answer button. Even the voice that responds once I do accept the call is wholly unfamiliar. Is this when Hannah called her?
Hello?
Oh, goodness. Finally, it connects.
Hello? Who is this?
Hello? Is this Miss Gales? Rebecca Gales?
Hello?
Yes, speaking. Who is this?
Oh, sorry. Rose Cooper. Briar Realty Corporation.
Oh, it's Rose.
Briar Realty?
My frown deepens as I straighten from my chair. Something in her tone, despite sounding remarkably friendly and light, doesn't sit quite well with me. The rigid pause that follows doesn't help ease the tension that has suddenly descended either.
Miss Cooper?
Yes. Things are a bit busy on my end. I apologize. I'm not certain if Isabella has mentioned anything before, but we're working together on a property at the moment, and...
The Armagard Mansion, yes. She said something about that earlier. Is there a problem?
This is about Isabella, actually.
Oh, does this happen after we had that meltdown? She wastes no time relaying everything. The details she provided are admittedly a bit vague, but enough for me to get a gist of what happened. It isn't the bad sort I'm expecting, though still worrying. especially with words, panic attack, and pale looking a bit sickly woven together in one foreboding sentence. But as quickly as it surfaces, I stomp down on the urge to demand answers right then and there. Now isn't the proper time for useless questions, I'll find out soon enough regardless. To Miss Cooper's credit, she neither hesitates nor falters all throughout. There's some sort of comfort in knowing Isabella has someone like her to guide her, though not as much as I would have liked. After all, this is Isabella we're talking about. What are the chances she had a bunch of excuses so she won't get sent home? High. Very high. Oh, she is so going to hear it this time.
You were listed as one of her emergency contacts, so I thought it'd be best you know about this.
How is she? Is she doing okay?
I had her take a break for now, but honestly, I'd feel better if someone were to pick her up and take her home for some rest.
You'd better worry for yourself, Rose, because you're about to die.
Anthem's a fair distance from Luxborn. I really don't want her going off on her own. I'd do it myself, but you know how it is today. Big day. People everywhere until the open house ends. I'm really sorry to ask this of you, Miss Gales. I know you're busy.
Oh, no, it's all good. I was just about to leave from work. I hope to leave early today anyway. A few minutes ahead wouldn't hurt. I can be there in a few, 30, 40 minutes tops. Is that all right?
More than fine, Miss Gales, thank you. We're supposed to be here until... Oh, excuse me. One moment, please. Yes, ma'am.
Faint hum of conversation echoes from her end. It sounds as though the place is buzzing with more people than you'll expect from a regular open house. I was skeptical at first. The house is old, not to mention its inconvenient location in Luxburn's outskirts. Who wants to live in a place almost an hour's drive away from the comforts of a city? But from what little I can hear, it appears Isabella has every right to be optimistic about this sale. If I didn't understand why she was so adamant refusing my offer to help before, I think I do now. To some degree.
We'll be resuming the tour soon. Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. I really need to get this thing going. Lord knows how I'll salvage the situation here. It shouldn't be anything complicated, but still, clients. They can be difficult when they want to be. Anyway, just look for me when you get here, alright? That shouldn't be too hard to miss.
No problem. Thanks for letting me know about this. Just make sure Isabella stays put, please. Heaven knows how stubborn that girl can be.
You know who's fucking stubborn? The ghost that's following us throughout this entire game?
Oh, believe me, I know. Don't worry about it. I'll have a few of our staff keep an eye on her for me until you get here.
That's all I'm asking. I appreciate it.
The whole thing ends on a surprisingly pleasant note. If only the same can be said for the news she brought. I allow a brief minute to pass to ease whatever tension has latched itself firmly into my nerves. But no matter how much I wish for it, my mind stubbornly refuses to do so. My hands are unsteady against the papers I pretend to arrange after. Lucid thoughts, every single ounce of it grimmer than the other, grows with each passing second I linger. Something about this whole thing, along with a sudden unease and nagging worry, screams, off. Wrong. This isn't the riveting tale I've hoped to step into today. Ew, we're in the school, St. Goretti High School. Even on a rush, getting everything in order before leaving takes nearly a good quarter hour. By the time I make it out of the classroom, the commotion has already died down, dwindling to mere echoes and distant laughters. From the nearby room, melodies from a rehearsing band drifts freely into the air, filling the almost empty hallway with their warm, lively tunes. Any other day, I'll stop, bask in the music, and enjoy what little peace it brings. Not today, however. We have to pick up our little Isabella. My steps are brisk and sure as I march towards Edward Hall's exit. The sooner I confirm Isabella's okay, the sooner I can shake off this niggling feeling. For one reason or another, that single call, of all possible things, has thrown everything off kilter. I'd rather this be over as quickly as possible. So much that I nearly barrel over a student in my haste. Though perhaps it's really the other way around. Oh, hello there, little Kylie. When I look down, a set of eyes, bright and hopeful, stare back at me, even though the last time we saw you, they were full of rage and violence. Her arms are wrapped around my waist like a vice, and at my attention, a grin spreads over her face. Okay. Buenas tardes, Miss Pink.
Hello, Kylie. You know, you aren't supposed to run into people like that.
Sorry, Miss Pink. Okay, her voice actress suddenly disappeared. She loosens her hold of me, but not a hint of guilt or regret appears on her. If anything, it seems her remark only amused her. A smile appears on my face before I can help it, matching the one on her own.
Just remember not to do it again, alright? You could get hurt.
You sound like my mama when she's scolding Rowan, Miss Pink.
I'm sure your mama only means well. I know she'll be worried sick if one of you were to get hurt. Where's your brother anyway? Aren't you two supposed to be heading home now?
Rowan said he's got some stuff he needs to do before we go. I think he's taking too long.
Rowan, don't leave your sister waiting.
But he promised to buy me jelly babies today. If I keep what he's doing a secret from Mama and Papa.
Ooh, jelly babies.
Any chance you'll tell Miss Pink about it?
She shakes her head, both her hands going to her mouth as if to keep a precious secret from spilling out.
I made a promise. She said it's for Tia Luke.
Oh, something like a gift?
Like a deal. Tio promised to take him somewhere cool when he's old enough. Rowan's gonna prove he's a grown-up.
Let me guess, Luke's gonna take her brother to a strip club. Laughter slips free from my lips. The teacher in me wants to give whoever this Tio is a reprimand for bringing about this kind of behavior in children. Yeah, we all know it's Luke. But if both Suarez kids are so fond of him, there shouldn't be anything to worry about, yes? At any rate, there's nothing but well-behaved, both Kylie and her brother. Rowan the eldest may have an occasional odd streak in and out of class, but their parents taught them well. I see no reason to cast any suspicion of bad behavior on them.
As long as it isn't anything dangerous, alright?
It's not. Cross my heart. My drawings are a lot prettier than what he's doing anyway. Tio said so. Do you want to see? I drew one earlier at class.
Is that why you're here?
Not really. I was gonna show it to my friend first. But since it's you, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if you see it before she does.
Oh no. I can't stay right now, Kylie.
I'm sorry, Kylie, we have to pick up our own child. Her face falls immediately after the words are out. A small part of me feels responsible for that crestfallen look, but as much as I want to stay a little longer, there's another place I need to be at right now. And frankly, another child to look after. Ayy. Taking both of her hands, I kneel in front of her and muster the most rueful smile I can give. At her age, I'm quite sure she already understands what I'm about to say before they're even out. But remarkably, she doesn't look away or pout as I'm expecting her to.
I'm sorry. You know what? Rowan has a class with me on Monday around this time. Why don't you drop by again next week? After class? I'll even make sure to wait for you. It's just that I absolutely must leave now. My friend had an accident earlier, and I'm the only one she has here.
What about her Mama and Papa?
They're all the way across the world.
Her family lives really far from here, I'm afraid. Do you remember where Asia is? The southeast part? That's where they are.
Her eyes immediately light up at my question. Just like that, I know I've earned the girl's forgiveness.
Oh, just like TAKAKO.
Who?
My friend. She said she used to live there, only just a little higher than southeast. But she hasn't come home in a long time, so she doesn't remember much about it anymore. Melody says it's weird I talk to her, but I think she's just shy.
Is TAKAKO a real friend or is she a ghost friend, an imaginary friend? I hope she's not the ghost from the mansion.
They could be good friends too! Don't you think so, Miss Pink?
Maybe if you introduce them properly, they will be.
That's what I think. TAKAKO's just lonely. If she makes more friends, she won't be anymore. Is your friend like that too?
A little, possibly. To be honest, sometimes I can't tell with her.
After all, Isabel has always been the kind to hold a smile, even when things have taken the turn for the worse. 5 years and one will think it's enough time to know a person. But when you consider it, come to think of it, all these years I've never not even once see her cry. Not over a trivial matter or even when things are tough.
Okay, you can go to her. I'll just show you my drawing next time.
Thank you. Remind me to buy you a huge glass of parfait, alright?
No, I'll get a stomachache. TAKAKO says so.
Kylie, have you been around the mansion around lately? Has TAKAKO been showing up to you ever since you've been around the mansion?
A small one is okay.
I'll remember that. Say hi to your friend for me.
Okay, everyone, how much you want to bet TAKAKO is actually the ghost from the mansion?
I will. I'm sure she'd love to meet you too. See you, Miss Pink.
Because of all the cliches that's been happening in this game that's super predictable, this is the most predictable of them all.
I'll see you later, Kylie.
London Bridge is
She doesn't look back or
falling
wait
down,
for any sort of goodbye from me.
London Bridge is
With a song and
falling
extra
down,
spring in her
my
step, she bounds across the corridor with as much spirit only a child her age can have. As if the conversation has never taken any downhill turn for her at all. As if there isn't a single thing to worry about in the world. Not long after, she disappears behind the door, leaving behind strains of an old familiar rhyme lingering in the air. Carefree. Unbidden. Untroubled moments like this, I envy her. And as I resume my hurried pace, a tiny whisper at the back of my mind wishes the same could be said for myself and my own worries. Luxborn may be a small city, but it's no stranger to hellish rush hour traffic. But surprisingly, getting out of the city today proves more of a breeze than a hassle. A relief considering how none of my calls to Isabella have made it through. Either the reception's really bad over there or she's ignoring them on purpose. Both does nothing to ease the disquiet in me. The rest of my drive passes without much incident as soon as I'm out of the busy streets. In less than 30 minutes, the mansion looms ahead of me. For all the fuss Isabella made about the house, it remains a thing of beauty. Unlike Luxborn, the estate and the nearby Anselm village stand as its complete opposite. Living and breathing the songs of old, whispers of the once booming haven lingering in the air. Contemporary conveniences aside, it's a place I'm glad modernization hasn't wholly touched.
It's just a shame the locals know more of the silly hearsay than the history itself. If I could only knock some sense into these people!
It's not all hearsays, Rebecca. We have 4 fucking chapters to prove it. Sadly, complaining is all I can afford to do. As much as I want to give them a piece of my mind, it isn't why I'm here. I don't think these rich types will appreciate getting a lecture from me either. I have as much business with them as they have with me. With a heavy sigh, I give myself one last second to take in the scenery before heading up to the main entrance. Most of the guests are already heading out. Though some still linger, it's mainly just to take photos of the house's facade and its various rooms. I pause for a moment, scanning the small crowd gathered at the foyer, looking for any sign of that familiar ponytail among the sea of hats and heads.
No sign of her.
No sign of the other staff or Miss Cooper either. I can certainly look for Isabel on my own, but in a place this big? Really, come on, no, that's baiting the ghost to come out. I'd be lucky if I didn't end up lost and find her before we need to meet Zachary and Ash tonight. Sighing, I reach for my mobile and redial her number, the gesture familiar now after so many attempts earlier. If she doesn't answer, I can still try contacting Miss Cooper. I just hope the network reception will cooperate this time. This side of the country has never been popular with the tech savvy after all. To my relief, it only took 3 unsuccessful tries. At the 4th one, right as it's about to switch to another intercept message, the line finally rings. Hello? Silence follows while I wait for her to pick up, the ringing going far too long for my tastes. By now, most of the visitors have already cleared out. All I have for company are the faint murmurs and the eerie calmness left in their wake. A sudden hush settles and gives way to noises louder than they're ever meant to be. Doors creaking and slamming shut in some distant part of the mansion, floorboards groaning under the sheer weight of the house's history. In the now empty hall, they all reverberate with special clarity against the walls. Like this, those old stories seem to almost have a ring of truth to it. I don't get to stray far into the ugly line of thought, however. Not a second later, a click sounds from the other end.
Hello? Isabella?
Fuck.
Miss Cooper called earlier and...
Fuck.
Isabella? Belle? Are you alright?
Without any warning, the call gets cut off. Busy notes blare sharply against the heavy silence. But above the noise cutting through the mute air remains the faint cries of a woman from beyond the foyer. My hand falls to my side as I cast a wary look around, waiting for someone to come running. Surely I can't be the only one hearing this, right? There must still be some staff hanging around, checking things out. But no one does. Not even when her sobs turn more frantic and anguished.
Excuse me? Hello?
Oh, Rebecca.
Who's there? Isabella? Isabella? Is that you?
No answer. Growing anxious, I amble over where her cries come from, each step slow and cautious towards the door at the other end of the room. While I'm far from someone who readily gives in to fear or stories lacking factual basis, the vague, restless feeling I have earlier immediately returns to me. And despite myself, my heart begins to race and my breathing quickens.
Belle? Belle, it's me.
That's not Belle.
Miss Cooper called. Is everything okay?
Abruptly, all of it stops. My whole body tenses, mouth dragging in a ragged breath, ears straining for any other sound yet to come from the other side. But nothing follows. Instead, the quiet only lends itself to the heavy tension in the air, as if every small movement will disturb the fragile stillness hanging in the room. I wait for another second. Then, with a caution, I reach for the doorknob. My fingers barely graze the brass handle when a hand falls on my shoulder.
Excuse me.
Ah!
Ma'am? I am so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you.
Rose, a glorious British waifu. Who's going to die eventually, but still a glorious British waifu, thank you.
No, it's a...
Still reeling, my gaze shifts back to the door as if any second now the cries will start again or whoever's inside will burst out of the room. But I don't get to dwell on these. The woman's worried voice breaks through the haze in my mind, oddly soothing in the thick of my unease. Even if the concerned look comes from a total stranger, finally being in the company of someone else is somehow comforting.
Ma'am? Are you okay?
Oh, no, I'm fine. This is probably just some cold.
Do you need to sit down?
No need. I'm actually looking for a friend.
I wave the mobile in front of her like the gesture alone explains everything. Vaguely, I note my tight grip on it and quickly slip it into my pocket before she notices. She doesn't need to know.
Well, I'm not really sure if your friend would still be here. We're actually about to close the open house in a few minutes, ma'am.
No worries. She's not a guest here. She works for Briar Realty. Miss Cooper called me earlier. In fact, I'm also looking for her.
Recognition flashes in her eyes and her worried expression dissolves into a smile once more. It's all I need to know that I don't have to look elsewhere or venture deeper into the mansion on my own. In some way, I'm not too keen on the latter right now.
Oh, Miss Rebecca Gales, is it?
Yes. Sorry if I'm a bit late.
It's not a problem. I was busy with the open house and a few clients anyway. It's actually a good thing you came when you did. Let's see. Isabella should be here somewhere. I told her to stay put earlier. Girl never listen.
Rose? Rosie? May I have a minute? There's just this one little thing before we go.
Miss Cooper's head immediately snaps up at the voice. In a blink, a different kind of smile spreads on her face. A smile still, friendly even, but the kind given mainly for the sake of pleasing other people rather than making friends.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be there in a few.
It's an impressive thing, to say the least. That level of professionalism. I suppose working years in this kind of business trains you enough to be able to pull that off without batting an eye. It certainly didn't seem like it rubbed off on Isabella, though.
Sorry, could you give me a second? I have to take care of this.
Don't worry about it. I understand. I can wait a few more minutes.
Not to the ghost, we can't.
Clients, right?
Ghosts, right?
You won't hear anything from me. Priorities, you know? But if you want, you can stay at the parlor in the meantime. I think we have a few refreshments left.
Please don't leave us alone.
No, thank you. I'm going out with a few friends after this. Isabella's supposed to join us too. But that depends on how she's doing, of course.
Alright, this won't be long, I promise.
She throws me an apologetic look before sauntering over to the small group gathered at the entrance. A couple, or siblings, and another woman, probably their secretary. Either way, they look no different from the other guests. All three of them primly dress, albeit in a manner significantly simpler than the others, no frills, no extravagance of any form. But their gestures and movements alone speak volumes of their ingrained lifestyle. In their presence, I do what I can to appear inconspicuous on my side of the foyer. Maybe accepting Miss Cooper's offer would have been a much better choice than standing around awkwardly and gaping at them. All while also attempting my best not to listen in on their conversation. Although that one proves more difficult with how enthusiastic the blonde woman is, her voice easily echoes throughout the walls with only the five of us here. Pretty soon I find myself being drawn into their talk without meaning to.
Tomorrow? First thing in the morning?
First thing in the morning, ma'am.
The mundane talk isn't what catches my attention, however.
Very well. We'll have our lawyers prepare everything as soon as possible. Let's make this whole thing easier for everyone, shall we? Just let me know if there's anything you need from me. You know how to contact me, yes?
Got your mobile number saved here already.
Good. It's just a matter of time then.
It's a brief moment. A fleeting shift of my eye.
Monday for us, Marianne.
What did you see, Rebecca?
As long as you're positive, we won't be having any problems by that time. You can count on my team.
You worry too much. Let me handle those things.
There seems to be a dark aura hanging over Luke. What the fuck is that?
Do be thrilled, though. I imagine it's not every day you get projects like this,
In the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it.
Oh, I'm certain Mint's ecstatic, Buttercup. Aren't you, Marianne? You know, we could all celebrate this with a few drinks. Why don't we? In fact, there's this really excellent Irish pub I visited a few days ago.
Looming, hovering over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. A dark blur. No, a shadow.
I think I'll pass on that, sir. I have more important matters to attend to.
Aside from the fact that Luke is once again being a little dicklet to Marianne, there's something hanging over his shoulder.
Love, she's busy.
What's with the muffling of the voices?
You never let me do anything fun.
But as I try to make any sense of it, a heavy feeling descends over my whole body. It happens without warning, forcing me to close my eyes. The sensation creeps to every part of me, crawling under my skin and draining me little by little of any strength. Before I know it, my hand is gripping the nearby door for support. The sudden nausea drowns out their voices and what little sound there is. All except for the whispers and laughters. Judging. Mocking. Taunting. Muffled inaudible words bearing down on me like a death sentence. They wrap around my neck and limbs, binds tightening with every syllable, every utterance. And with each draw of breath I take, they drag me down slowly, almost painfully into the bottomless abyss. On. And on. And on. Till the sounds turn into mere distant echoes. Until suddenly it shatters.
Well, what are we waiting for? Are we done here?
His voice rips through the fog like a sharp blade as my eyes snap open. When I look to them again, it's gone.
You can head back to the car first if you want, Luke. I hope that settles everything, Rose. I don't know what Isabel's problem is, but please make sure she doesn't hurt herself. Anyway, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Likewise, ma'am.
No shadows or dark clouds. Only amicable smiles and cordial handshakes. The usual pleasantries as Miss Cooper leads them out of the mansion like a graceful host. None of the group seem to have noticed it. And even as I force my breathing to calm down, keep my eyes trained on their backs, and wait for something to happen, it doesn't come back. She returns a moment later. Gently, she closes the great doors behind her, but there's a smile on her lips and an extra skip in her step when she walks back to me. Whatever she was discussing with the group had put her in a good mood. Even she appears to have not observed anything odd. Was I just seeing things?
Glad that was over. It's been a long day. I thought for sure we're going to... hey, are you sure you're doing okay? You look a bit green.
Oh no, we're just fine.
It's all good. I'm actually still recovering from a cold. Weather's been crazy lately.
That must be it. The weather, this stupid cold and the friendly warnings I'm too stubborn to listen to. As much as I hate to admit it, Isabel's right. I was and still am a little feverish when she visited me at school this morning. The medicine helped of course, but only some. Although it's not like I can't function, it did get better after lunch and I was able to go through my schedule like usual. Now I'm not so sure. However, I can't keep acting like I've seen some sort of apparition when it's anything but. Yeah, that's right, anything but. I simply must have listened too many times to Isabella last week. My fever-muddled mind has started to confuse things. If this doesn't let up, I just need another visit to my doctor. Plain and simple. Though I do hope it won't get worse, we did promise to watch Zachary's film together.
I know what you mean. I've been complaining to Isabel. It doesn't seem to affect her much, though. Must be because she grew up in the tropics. Anyway, shall we? She's probably hanging out with the rest of the catering staff.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised she's there. She eats like 10 hungry men when she isn't feeling well. Lead the way.
With a small nod, she gestures for me to follow. I do so without much thought, finally putting everything in the back of my mind. The entire visit took a whole 24 minutes, and my trip to the mansion, as it turns out, is a useless endeavor in itself. Isabel is no longer there, left shortly before I arrived. Well, because Ash brought her home. Or at least that's what the few staff who saw her assumed. None of them knew where she went, but I can take a few guesses. There are only a number of places in Luxbourne she frequents, and well, she's never been the complex kind. It doesn't really take a genius to figure it out. Still, it's odd that she left on her own. She could have at least waited for Miss Cooper. It would have saved her having to pay for the cab's fare twice today.
And right after she was told to stay put. I mean, who does that? Oh, sod off! You don't own the road!
In the end, all Miss Cooper could give me were a string of apologies for my trouble and a request to let her know when I find Isabella. The whole affair didn't even last long. I probably spent more time traveling back and forth. Soon enough, I'm weaving my way back to downtown Luxbourne, worried sick, and on the top of that, maybe a little annoyed. Whether at the unexpected turn of events or at Isabella herself, I'd rather not think about it for now. Not when I'm already running late for Zachary's film. Besides, I'm perfectly sure that's where I'll find her.